It's a great day in SimWorld, everybody. Good morning and welcome to SimWorld Today. I'm B-Ron, and joining me for the very first time on SimWorld today, making his debut, is our good buddy Maestro. Maestro, good morning, man. Good to have you here with me.
Feeling good, fam. Always good, beautiful to see your face in the morning. It's just like Christmas, except it's better.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Well, look, let's jump right into things, shall we? The Cowboys and Texans played last night on Monday Night Football, and boy, how about them Cowboys? I need my Stephen A. laughing gift because the Cowboys lost their what's that, fifth in a row at home?
Yes.
34-10 over the Texans in the Houston in the Texas rivalry, and they did not show up. Jerry Jones, we just aren't playing well. No, no, you're not at all. And it's one of those things when you know it's going to be a bad day, Maestro, when the Texans defense forced a fumble on the very first defense play of the game, and they score a touchdown. That's how you know.
Yeah, absolutely.
How
The reality of Dallas is they have been an organization in feast or famine ever since. Just be real about it. Even going back to the days of when Tom Landry was there. Jerry Jones buys a team. He gets rid of Tom Landry. He realizes once he puts in Jimmy Johnson that Jimmy Johnson's getting all this credit for this team. He wants to feel like he's the man. Gets rid of Jimmy Johnson. The next thing you know, what you start seeing is the up and down, up and down, up and down. And this is the event of that, right? You see how this guy, Jerry Jones, and now his son's trying to follow in his footsteps, not make daddy mad because they don't want to get kicked out the wheel. Their poor decisions have led to a split in the locker room that happened ever since the day they got rid of Jimmy Johnson. And a lot of players from that day now who don't feel encumbered by whatever will say how angry they were the day that Jimmy Johnson was fired and the way they found out. And oh, by the way, that mismanagement, one Super Bowl since, but really with the same team that Jimmy Johnson had. This is what we get. We get a team that is good enough to be good enough, but not good enough to be good enough.
Yeah, no, you're right, and I say it very often, Maestro. This team is too talented to have the record that they do year in and year. I feel like they're very talented, but it just never seems to come together, and it just didn't again last night. Joe Mixon had himself a game, but C.J. Stroud didn't have to do a whole lot either.
No. And that's how you know the team win.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
Mixon scored 3 touchdowns, and he has a touchdown streak. It's now 6 games now. So this is a Texans team that's 7-4. They're really, really good, and they are in first place in the AFC South right now with that 7-4 record. Cowboys, on the other hand, third in the NFC East, 3-7 now. New York's in last place. We'll get to them very shortly. So it's a mess over there for the Cowboys, and they to make matters worse with all this, to Maestro, they had some debris fall from the roof a few hours before the game started. So it's just
multi-billion-dollar stadium. You got to call ServPro before everything gets started. You know what? I'm just gonna say it. I was a huge Cowboys fan when I was coming up because it introduced me to one of the players that I even really respect, and that's Roger Staubach and Tom Landry. But as I drifted, as I learned, I got a chance to watch some other guys come up. The Dallas Cowboys to me have always been a standard, but then as I got older and I see how the team is run now, I realized that standard was a little flawed. And hey, lesson learned, man. That's what it is, and it's going to stay that way as long as ownership is the way it is.
Yeah, exactly. Lesson learned, and Daniel Jones is learning a lesson as well that your job is never safe because he's been demoted to third string quarterback, not second string, folks. Third string quarterback. As the Giants make the switch to Tommy DeVito. He started a game last season. He had a few games for them last season. Memory serves, right?
That's right.
But now but now he's going to be behind DeVito and Drew Lock. So this is one of those things that, unfortunately for me, I'm not surprised it happened. Daniel Jones was signed to a 4-year, $160 million contract, and I didn't think he was worth it then.
No.
And seems like now the Giants may be realizing it too, at least in the short term, that he's not, because promoted way down to third string. Thoughts on the move, Maestro?
So here we go. The Giants are one of those teams that are fighting a separate sort of issue than the Cowboys we just talked about. First of all, there is a perception of perception. There is a there is a placement for the Giants in New York culture that's never going to go away because they've been around for so long, right? Which is great. The problem is since the days of Bill Parcells, and then of course followed by the 2 seasons of success with Tom Coughlin, what has happened is the people are realizing how unstable between the Mara family and the organization, the management is, and the management is what's been failing them. Daniel Jones has 2 good games. He gets that contract extension. I mean, it was off of 2 good games. Remember when they brought Danny DeVito in before, by the way, who was still living at home with his mom, his mom's still making him chicken parm every week like she does, because if you're from New York and New Jersey, that's how you do it. All right. There's no ego, no whatever. And oh, by the way, he is a Jersey boy. That is the reason that move is going to be popular with the fans, because they realize the season for the team has been done for a while. And Jones, no offense, he hasn't had any coaching. He hasn't been able to grow, and he's been what you get. Everybody's going to, even a blind squirrel is going to find a nut every other Tuesday. So what's going to happen is with him, he's going to be like Sam Darnold with the Jets. He's going to end up going someplace else where his career is going to come back, but only after he gets a chance to develop under some real coaching.
Yeah, well, we can hope for the best for Daniel Jones. Obviously, you don't want to see anybody lose their job in any shape or form, no matter what profession it is, sports or otherwise. So, hoping a bounce back for Jones is coming, be with the Giants or with somebody else. So we'll see how that all works, and yeah, but on to some more good news to end this sandwich here. We got going to start the show. Clearly, the American League and National League Rookies of the Year were announced yesterday as well, and there were some interesting results there, in my personal opinion. The New York Yankees, Luis Gil ended up winning the award for the American League, and then the National League Rookie of the Year award ended up going to Paul Skeens, pitcher from the Pirates. That one, I wasn't surprised from that one. That one was the one that didn't stick out to me. I thought that one was a easy pick given how he pitched and came on to both, midway through and throughout the year, making the All-Star game, also for Skeens. So congrats to him for getting that award. Thoughts on these awards, Maestro?
Well, it's funny because throughout the season, the one thing you kept hearing about was the resurgence of the days of Fernando Mania, back in the days of Fernando Valenzuela, for all you kiddies who need to look up the days of black and white and 8-track tapes. Doc Gooden, when he came in, when those pitchers came in and sort of reset the boundary of how modern pitchers were looked at. Remember, there were a bunch of having great pitchers was not that big a deal before that. You talk about the days of Bob Gibson and of course like the pitchers for the Yankees, right? Of course, but then all of a sudden we went through a period there going into the late 70s into the 80s where once Bob Gibson stepped out of the game, we didn't really have the sort of pitchers we thought we were going to really have, with the exception of what became of like a guy like Nolan Ryan. Then, so these guys come back in an age when everybody wants the long ball, everybody wants the home run, everybody wants to see the ball get hit out of the stadium the way Jorge Soler did in the 2022 World Series. And now we got pitching again, and not just pitching with a personality. The guys like Pedro, the guys who would come in and they would talk that game, but then they would produce. And of course, having that trash stash, like he was in a porn movie, with schemes, really helps him, right? But on the other side, with the Yankees, I'm just going to say this: I think the presence of none of the other rookies really separating themselves, and the Yankees having the season that they had, got him a lot more attention than perhaps he would have gotten if he was playing with, let's say, I don't know, in Milwaukee or even in the White Sox or something like that. When he played with the White Sox, he never would have won a game, but that's a different story. But so yeah, I just feel like that resurgence of the highbrow pitcher, I think it's going to bode well for a lot of young guys now. You don't have to pitch a complete game. If you can give me 5 innings, you're a hero. So, the rules have changed. So I can come out and do maximum effort for 3 or 4 or 5 innings, and then I'm good for the day. I think that sort of changes the mindset and what the pitchers realize they need to do. So they're going to have these big, bright, shining star years.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Most definitely. It's been a really great time for Rookie of the Year this year, and I'm looking forward to seeing how they continue to grow into their second year, because you'll see a little slump going into their second year. Hopefully it doesn't happen for them, and we'll see though. On to SimWorld U, because we did have some games last night. We had a couple of games last night, and let's get to some of these here. Utah first ended up winning their game against Temple. Number 19 team in the nation ended up beating Temple thanks to Triton Hendon. 27 points in the game total, but he scored 15 of those in the second half to really lift Utah above Temple in this game. And I really like what I've seen from Temple this season, Maestro. They're a scrappy team who can give you a lot, especially with guys like AJ Frost, Leonidas Papadopoulos, and Angela Roman in particular. But again, last night, Triton Hendon and the Utes were enough to get over the Owls last night.
Well, what's really cool to me about Utah, and yes, that performance was great. And again, rerun, the one thing I always say, it's not about how much you score, but it's about when you score, how much you score. His buckets always seem to either be a run stopper or a reset of the offense for the Utes, right? So when you see a team like Utah who can put on that scoring potential, don't forget what they were able to do defensively. Right. Don't forget what they will do defensively, because that became sort of like the story of what was happening. Temple could never get comfortable, and Utah being able to do that and being able to score the way they were really, 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 to me, made that win look. I won't say the win could have looked better, but it could have looked better. Because they did what they had to do to maintain their lead and what they did throughout the game, and it was really cool to see.
Exactly. That win gives Utah 6 on the season. On to our SimWorld U wrap up here to close things out. As always, let's start first with the broadcasted game of the night. That was TCU.
Intimidated by that.
Here comes Craig Villanova, and it was free throws and 3-pointers, Maestro. That really
second chance
down the
Villanova. Okay.
Able to get the win in that one. And that was a final 73-65. And then in the third game of the night, that one was a Oklahoma State 20-0 run in the second half, and they're getting the win over VCU. And that's how we do it. That's how we do it, and that's how those games ended yesterday. Maestro, pleasure having you on with me this morning. Really appreciate you being with me here on SimWorld today. Thank you. I appreciate it. And thank you all for listening and watching as well. As always, do what you usually do. Like the video, subscribe to the channel. Make sure you know on all of our shows, games, streams. Also, go live. If you remember, we had the SimWorld U Game of the Week tonight. Me and Maestro will be on the call for that one, oddly enough. That is Texas and Kentucky. Hey, I got you. Number 8, Texas. Number 2, Tennessee. 7 o'clock p.m. tonight. November 19th. Be there and come out and watch this great game that's going to be on display for you all. Thank you all for joining us here on SimWorld today. Remember, SimWorld is the only place you can see the game, be the game.
See you tomorrow.